Hi, welcome. I'm Rev Patricia Caginello from Sacred Stories Publishing, and I'm so excited for our very first author and our very first author summit. So I'd like to have a big welcome for Lynn Reilly, the author of our children's book, The Secret to Beating the Dragon. Hey, Lynn.
Hello.
So this is it, our first author summit, your first children's book. I know you have a copy of it in front of you. Hold it up so everybody can see this beautiful book.
I hope they can see it. I'm having a hard time seeing myself, so we see it?
Yeah, put a little bit higher. The Secret to Beating the Dragon.
This is Beating the Dragon.
It's a phenomenal book. It's a beautiful book. Lynn, tell our audience what they can expect in reading and sharing The Secret to Beating the Dragon with their children and their grandchildren.
Well, you know what I love about this book is, number one, it's absolutely gorgeous. The illustrations are stunning. And that's a big draw right off the bat. The colors, the vibrancy, you can feel the characters, sort of who they are, pieces of their personality, which to me as a mom reading books to my kids when they were little, I love that. So I really, and so underneath that first initial part is the story behind the book, or the story in the book, of the relationship between the grandmother and her grandson, and this beautiful, deep bond that they have. You really get that feeling right off the bat of this connection that they have. And they tell stories together. They talk about conquering imaginary dragons at the village and really bonding together. And you really feel that connection. And for me, I'm a counselor, so I'm all about the emotions. Like, let's bring them out. And this book does that. So we talk, they're there in the village and they're bonding together, and the grandmother starts to slow down in both the stories and also in real life. And as time goes on, the grandmother gets older and then she becomes ill and she passes on. And so then we feel Andrew and his emotions as he's sad because his grandmother has passed. But what ends up happening in the book is that he goes back to the grandmother's house to look for this teacup that they share. They used to drink tea when they told stories together. And then he finds this note taped on the cup that is the reframe to the story, which is the secret to beating the dragon is to look him straight in the eye and watch as he scurries away for bravery he cannot get by. And it just reminds Andrew that his grandmother is still there and she's still with him, and that they stay connected, and that love actually doesn't ever die. So it becomes this bittersweet but beautiful ending, and this connection that they will always be together facing the dragons, and they will always be together throughout the rest of his life.
So Lynn, open the book because the illustrations are tremendous. And let's just show a picture of Andrew and then show a picture of his grandmother. And then I want to show a picture of the incredible, awesome dragon. And we'll talk about what the symbolism of the dragon is.
I love this so much.
So a little bit higher, perfect, a little bit higher. That's perfect. So there is Andrew and his grandmother, and that's Andrew staring the dragon straight in the eye. Yeah, the illustrations are just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, and I know I showed you the book before when the front cover here, but I love this so much, and it's the wraparound cover, and you've got the picture of the dragon in the back. Just so perfectly captures the personality.
So,
it's outstanding.
So the symbolism of the dragon. So you talked about Andrew and his grandmother and their bond, and it's beautiful in their story. But who's the dragon? Why is the dragon important to the story?
So the dragon represents fear. And so this dragon that shows up and he's scaring all the villagers, they're not sure what to do. And so Andrew and his grandmother come up, and Andrew shows them all you need to do with fear is look it straight in the eye, and you look at it with bravery. And so in that picture that I just showed you, he's looking fear in the eye and saying, I've got this. And so the dragon runs away. And so that representation of life, that we're always going to have fear. We're always going to have uncomfortable moments. But the more that you honor and respect them and look them in the eye, looking yourself in the eye and saying, no, we've got this, then you honor and respect the fear, but then it goes away or it dissipates and you're able to go on and live your life amongst the villagers happy as all.
So what a beautiful book. So as I'm a mom, my kids are older now, but I can envision me reading this to my grandchildren too. And not only the story of the bond of Andrew and his grandmother and family and love and adventure and fun, right?
Yep.
But it really is such a beautiful book for children who may be worried about something or a little scared or
Without
have
question, right?
fears, even small ones, that to help them overcome them, to help them find their courage to face.
Correct. You're right. And I think that it does, that story does shine that, but also as a parent who, used to read to my kids all the time, I think that even as an adult reminding of that message, I think is so powerful for us as that's right. This is what we do. We do it for ourselves. We do it for our kids. We model that for our children. And I think also what I like about the story is that it rhymes. So it kind of has that comforting feel, and it almost gives it a little safety and a little bit of lightness. So, we can take these heavier moments and make light of it and show that it's all going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And as part of we're going to talk about Andrew in a second, but as part of our author summit, we are giving away a free copy of The Secrets of Beating the Dragon to pick from anyone who is commenting in the thread. So if you're watching us on Facebook Live, I'd encourage you to just say hi. Just say hi in the thread. We're going to pick our name randomly, and we're going to share a copy of The Secrets of Beating the Dragon, which is just such a beautiful gift. And I just want to say, it's a special for the Author Summit in the upcoming holiday seasons. All Sacred Stories books are 20% off from our website. So if you go to sacredstoriespublishing.com, you can look at all the different books, find one or more that you absolutely love, and the prices have all been discounted 20%. So I just want to give a shout out for that. So Lynn, so who's Andrew? Because Andrew, this book is just so beautiful on so many levels, but it's also really personal to you too. You wrote this story, so share who Andrew is and a little bit. We always love the backstory of stories.
Yeah, I love backstories too. And you're right. This book is very, very close to my heart, and it's special. And Andrew is actually my cousin Andrew, and Graham is actually my grandmother. And we all had a very special relationship with my grandmother because she was an extraordinary human being. But there was something about Andrew's relationship with my grandmother that really touched me. And in the real life story of Andrew and Graham is that Andrew actually lived with our grandmother towards the end of her life, and she had Alzheimer's, and he was very much an important part of her caretaking at that point. And he was an EMT at the time, and she had been an EMT at one point as well. So he would be out in the field during the day, sort of facing the fears of other people and of being harmed and being hurt, and his own as well as supporting them, and would come home and she would want to hear stories of his day. Like, tell me stories about your day, going out there into the village, and what did you do? And their tea in real life was actually a glass of whiskey. So a little bit different, but something they would sit and share and talk those stories in real life and have that connection. And I can remember him telling me that and just feeling how special and how extraordinary that their bond was. And so when she passed, it was very, very challenging for all of us. But I knew for Andrew, being that Graham really was one of his very best friends, it was very difficult for him to let that go. So we talked a lot about that. Hey, Graham's still with us. She's still here in all of her extraordinary ways. And this was just one more example of that.
It's just such a beautiful story. Pat on Facebook with us says she loves the slippers. Pat, I have to say, that was when the illustrations were being created. I'll give a shout out. Michaela San Pietro is the illustrator, a phenomenally talented young woman.
Incredible.
And when she was doing the character sketches, right? Because we go through a process, and anyone who has a children's book knows, the illustrations are a process. And we start with character sketches, storyboards, and so forth. It's a beautiful creation. But when Graham came in and the character sketch had her slippers, everyone at Sacred Stories was like, we love the slippers. It is just so perfect. So, Lynn, again, one more time, just hold up a picture. Find a picture of Graham with her slippers, because they are definitely, you got to go higher. We can't see it's hard to see. It's hard to see there at the very bottom. But Graham has pink, fuzzy, fluffy grandmother slippers. Yeah, and she has those. And what I love about Graham too is she also has a string of pearls, which is so perfectly Graham image. So thank you, Lynn. So thank you, Pat, for the comment. Again, if you're watching on Facebook Live and you want to say hello, you can just say hello in the comments, and we're giving away a free copy of The Secret to Beating the Dragon. So Lynn, what would you say to the parents, the grandparents that are thinking about, would this be a great gift for my children? Would this work? What age range are we talking about? What would you like parents to know?
Yeah, the age range is a little tough for me because I think that we like to start reading to our kids really early on. So, in terms of is there the earliest, I don't know if there is, anything, there's a cutoff there, but, I would say really even looking at some of the concepts, even just listening to the words, again, because they do rhyme and they do sing, there's something very pleasing to that. So, and again, as a parent, it would be a book that I would enjoy because of some of the deeper level meanings. In fact, my father says to me, every time I read the book, I learn something new. It goes a little bit deeper, which is pretty funny. But for a child, I would say in terms of an understanding, probably up to the age of 8 would probably be the comfort zone of really getting to those concepts in between 6 and 8 years old to have an understanding of what it is that some of those deeper meaning discussions. Actually, I think that this book allows opportunity for discussion, which is really cool. Which is why we donated to our copies of books to our library in town, and several people I know that did the same. They wanted their schools to have a copy, and I have relatives who are teachers that I want to have conversations with my children in my classrooms about these types of things, because they are concepts and they're beautiful, and I think presented illustratedly beautiful in a way that's very positive, and taking some more challenging emotions and sort of bringing them to light in a way that feels good.
Mm. Yeah, so you're right. So whether or not the children are younger and they just want to enjoy the rhymes and the beautiful pictures, because the illustrations are beautiful, and the dragon's not scary at all. He's not a goofy dragon. He kind of has an attitude, but it's
sly.
He's what?
He's kind of sly.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, where you're like, what's that dragon gonna do? But not in a scary way. Not gonna give anybody any nightmares or anything, or create any new fears. So from that perspective of just a beautiful book, a rhyming book with great pictures to share with your kids, through as they grow, understanding and bringing out the deeper meanings behind the story, right? I think it reaches a really broad age range. So thank you. So Lynn Reilly, author of The Secret to Beating the Dragon. Final words you'd like to share?
Yeah, I love this book so much, and I recognize that I'm biased, but I was thinking about, why did I even want this book to come to life? I've been writing for a long time, and I knew when I wrote this story right away, for some reason, it was the first time I thought, I really want to share this book. I really want to share this message. I really want to share the beauty of this. So, it's a lot of personal delight to be able to do that, especially because, again, I'm going to go back to the illustrations are just so gorgeous and awesome, and really express it in such a way that I was floored by, I think, even initially. And because of the work that I do, again, as a counselor, and really wanting to talk about feelings and making them okay, and having more connected discussions, those are the things that I love most about this book, which is why, for me, it's just such an awesome thing to put out in the world.
Yeah, I agree. And we are just honored at Sacred Stories Publishing that we have published, whether we have helped have a part in bringing this creation to the world, because that's what we feel like too. We feel that the energy is so incredibly beautiful, and the children are so important to be able to have, positive messages and examples of beautiful, loving relationships and fun, right?
Yeah. Make it light.
Yeah, it just.
Last page. I don't want to like jump to the last page, but I kind of want to share it because it actually is one of my favorite pictures in the whole book. And I've already told you what the book, the whole story anyway. But I love this picture so much because I think that it sums it up of sort of life in perspective. If I can find the picture. Okay. Hopefully you can see it. Can you see it?
Just
Okay.
yeah, and just pull it out just a little bit. But yeah, there's Graham and Andrew. I have chills looking at it with the dragon up on the
And
hill.
it's, the pictures of them at the end, sort of at the end of the day. Here we are looking at Graham and Andrew always together. Still, the love never goes anywhere. It's everlasting. The dragon's off in the sunset. It's always going to be there. We're always going to have fear. But if we shift our perspective, we can make it beautiful. We can really make it work. So I really love that. I love that. I still get teary every time I read the book. It's so funny, but I just love it so much. Thank you so much for letting me share it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing it, writing it. And before we finish, again, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, you want to say hello in the queue, we are giving away a free copy of The Secret to Beating the Dragon and The Secret to Beating the Dragon and all books from Sacred Stories Publishing at sacredstoriespublishing.com are 20% off through November 30th. So I encourage you to visit the website. And Secret to Beating the Dragon and all books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much worldwide, from your favorite retailer. So Lynn Reilly, thank you so much. And
thank you.
And I invite everybody back. Our author summer continues at 2:30. We'll be talking to Helen Heinmiller about her spiritual adventure thriller, Final Redemption. Okay, so until then, have a wonderful day. Bye now.
Thank you.